As a result of COVID, businesses are realizing that they actually have to manage their workforce virtually. They need to find new customers without being able to go to a trade show. They need to manage disrupted supply chains. Wrap has been designed by the Toronto Region Board of Trade to help companies improve their digital maturity during these challenging times. A participant in the program will have their digital needs assessment done, their DNA. Once we have their DNA, we are able to direct them into the programs that help educate companies, help them create a plan, help them get in touch with the resources that are going to support them as they manage through these challenges. The program is about long-term improvement for businesses, about running your business more efficiently. Even after the pandemic, that is going to be a critical thing for any business, and in this case, it's going to make all of those businesses stronger. A business can sign up for the program simply by registering at our website, and then we'll get them into that digital needs assessment.
Is your company finding itself being forced to deal with a new digital reality? And is dealing with that digital reality a daunting task? The World Trade Centre Toronto at the Toronto Region Board of Trade has developed a new tool that can help with the challenge. The Recovery Activation Program, or WRAP, helps companies begin their digital transformation with the Digital Needs Assessment, or DNA. Created in partnership with KPMG, the DNA takes less than 30 minutes to complete and offers a comprehensive assessment of your company's current digital maturity at no cost to you. Simply go to wrap.bot.com and click on the Start Now button to begin your DNA. After completing some questions about your company's key facts, you'll jump right into the survey. If you need to pause at any time, click the Resume Later button in the top navigation panel so your progress will be saved. Shortly after you complete the assessment, you'll receive your results, which are benchmarked against companies of similar size, sector, and location against 8 capabilities. For those companies that get their assessment back and feel that no further action is needed, you'll still walk away with a helpful and valuable review of your company's current digital maturity. If you want to address some of your business's areas for improvement, the team at the Toronto Region Board of Trade will review your results and recommend some personalised learning streams to address those needs. The best part is, thanks to the generous support of the Government of Canada and the Government of Ontario, there is no cost to complete your DNA or participate in any WRAP program. For more information or to begin your DNA, visit wrap.bot.com.
Well, good morning, folks. My name's Lee Smout, and I'm president of the World Trade Centre Toronto. When I see myself in that video off the top, I yearn for those warm days when you could sit outside and be downtown and have traffic going around behind you, but that's not where we're at right now. So for today, welcome to a very special information session for our Recovery Activation Program, which we call WRAP. Thank you for attending today, and I know that you'll find the information shared useful to the future success of your business. This webcast is made possible thanks to our event partners on this occasion at the Mississauga, Oakville, Brampton, Burlington, Milton, and Halton Hills Chambers of Commerce. So we're so pleased to be able to partner with all of those folks and many other chambers around the province. The Recovery Activation Program wouldn't be possible without the support of our Scale Up Institute Toronto sponsors, which are Air Canada and BLG, and our WRAP program sponsors, KPMG, CIBC, SoftChoice, Cisco, and Microsoft. Obviously, a great list of corporate support partners that are providing amazing content into this program. And also funding from the Government of Canada and the Government of Ontario, without which we could not have made this program available to so many companies across Ontario at no cost. We also, all of our programs that we run at the board are supported by partnerships with the board's principal sponsors, the Globe and Mail, Ted Rogers School of Management at Ryerson University, and Scotiabank. So just a couple of quick notes off the top. If you have any issues with your video lagging, select click here to switch stream. You can view it at a lower bandwidth, and hopefully that'll clear up the problem. For any other technical issues, there's a request help button in the bottom right corner of the screen, and somebody will be in touch with you, so they'll help you out. And one thing that's really important is any time during this, right from now until right through to the Q&A, please click on the questions tab and submit any questions you have. You don't have to wait until the Q&A portion. The sooner you get them in, the better, but that's open the whole time. So this morning, we're here to talk about the Recovery Activation Program, as I mentioned, and as you saw in the videos off the top, and how it can help your business harness the power of technology to adapt your operations and ensure you succeed no matter what new challenges this pandemic throws at you or how long it lasts. But I have to say, digitizing your business is much more than a response to a pandemic. It will be the backbone of your future success in a world that is forever changed by the events of this past year. To be competitive in the new era that we're entering, especially on a global scale, but even right here at home, you cannot afford to forego efficiency in your operations. And really, that's the ultimate goal of digitizing, and in our case, the ultimate goal in operating the WRAP program to ensure that you have continued success with your business. So today we have invited Melanie Frazier from the Halton Hills Chamber of Commerce and one of our recent WRAP graduates, and also Trevor Stewart from Stokely Stewart Consultants, another grad, to talk about the challenges that businesses face during COVID and to talk about their involvement with the WRAP program. To lead today's discussion, we have Michael Cascone, the director of the Scale Up Institute Toronto here at the World Trade Center Toronto. Michael's been director of the Scale Up Institute since May 2019. And prior to that, he has a lot of experience with scaling up. Before joining the board, Michael was responsible for developing a scale-up strategy for the province of Ontario, and he led province-wide in-depth company consultations and developed a comprehensive series of scale-up reports in order to do that. Michael has a range of provincial government experience as the lead senior advisor to the premier-appointed automotive chief and as the lead senior advisor to the deputy minister of economic development and growth. Michael also has 5 years of experience with the federal government, primarily working on innovation policy and trade agreement negotiation. But we're glad to have Mike working for us at World Trade Center now, running the Scale Up Institute and running this program and hosting you today. So I will pass it over to you, Mike, and have fun.
Thanks so much, Lee, and thank you for the kind introduction. And super happy to be here today, guys, to talk about the WRAP program. We're trying to keep things a little bit festive. I got a bit of a Charlie Brown tree. It's not the fullest tree in the background, but we're trying to keep spirits up even though we're all stuck inside. Today, we got a great session planned for you. Unleashing Resilience, all about the Recovery Activation Program. We'll be going through it in quite a bit of detail. As Lee mentioned, my name is Mike Cascone, Director of the Scale Up Institute Toronto. And I really hope everyone out there is staying positive and testing negative. It's very important this time of year. As Lee had mentioned, I'll be starting with an overview of the WRAP program, so please bear with me as I go through all the ins and outs of it. But we do have two fantastic guests here today, Melanie and Trevor, who can provide some great insight on the program and digital transformation broadly. So before I get started, I do want to encourage you, ask any of the questions that are coming to mind. We are doing a live QA. So, we're here to answer them, and we're here to provide any insight we can. So please don't hesitate. So I'd like to start by providing an overview of the Recovery Activation Program. You'll be hearing me say next slide a lot as we kind of get through all of our slides. So bear with me with that, but I guess I'll start with the first one. So next slide, please. All right, so we have a number of programs at the World Trade Center Toronto and at the Scale Up Institute Toronto. Really, we're here to focus on the Recovery Activation Program and how digital modernization can transform your business. Really, we're going to start a little broadly here, but obviously the pandemic has been super transformative for your business and all businesses. It's really emphasized the need, we think, for businesses to digitally transform. But we are seeing a lot of our SMEs in the Toronto region, in the Halton Peel region, in the province generally, really struggling to do so. It's become a real inflection point for an SME's ability to not just survive, but as Lee had mentioned, this is what the new normal is. The way we look at it, there are internal and external stressors right now. Internally, it's things like business ops, day-to-day operations. How can I support a remote work staff or a partially remote work staff that wasn't remote before? Externally, it's really reaching customers. How do I maintain my customer base, my revenue streams? How do I reach new ones? And we're seeing a lot of supply chain disruption. Obviously, those effects are super transformative on business models and value props in market right now. And next slide, please. I'd like to start with just a couple global insights, and we can get into some Canadian specific issues. The stats on this slide just show you a lot of countries are facing the same set of issues, but I'd like to point to a couple of the particularly telling ones from some recent studies that have been done. 72% of small businesses in the market studied are accelerating their digitization. And at a very macro level, the upside for the economy of doing so is significant. We're looking at $2.3 trillion in these 8 countries alone in terms of GDP growth. So quite significant. But at a bottom right point, and I'll expand on it in a minute, there are some Canadian specific barriers that our companies are facing, that our economy is facing. Things like cultural resistance to change and taking that first step towards digital transformation, not knowing where to start, and a lack of commitment at the C-suite or senior level in these organizations. The one that I see as being really, really fundamental here is not knowing where to start. We see a lot of companies that we've been working with in this program and otherwise wanting to make changes, and not changes to their business model, changes to create efficiencies and bring in new revenue streams, just not really knowing where to start. And that's really what the Wrap program is here to help with. Next slide, please. So again, just a little bit about the Canadian perspective here. Again, the key takeaway is that our Canadian SMEs are really lagging and struggling more with this new reality than some of our international competitors. I've already mentioned the cultural and commitment issues. We continue to score low, and our companies and just generally invest far too little to remain competitive. This is still obviously very macro for the purposes of the presentation, but we work to install a culture of openness to change at the country level, but also at the individual SME level. And again, that's where this program is here to help. So I thought a little bit of digital transformation at a very high level could help set the stage for our conversation today. Next slide, please. So the Recovery Activation Program is what you're here to hear about today. Previously, the Scale Up Institute Toronto was really heavily focused on helping companies that were in a high growth stage already, continue to overcome their barriers to growth. Really focus on things like talent, finding the right capital at the right time, IP strategy. The pandemic hits and all of a sudden the Scale Up Institute needs to refocus our programming. And the Recovery Activation Program is our solution to what we saw a lot of companies struggling with, is really end-to-end digital transformation. A lot of companies think digital transformation and they think, okay, how do I work with an e-commerce solution provider? How do I set up a website? How do I reach my customer base? And certainly this program has dedicated portions that are really focused on those specific issues. But this program, and what separates us from some other offerings that are in the market, it's really about end-to-end digital transformation. So we talk about things like sales tracking, managing a remote team. Does your tech stack work well with your CRM? Are you cyber secure? Is your team trained to work with these new technologies that you're thinking about implementing? Most importantly, for a lot of our companies, how do I finance a digital restructure? What are some key things that I really need to think about as I am considering a digital implementation from a finance perspective? We spoke about knowing where to start, and this is a great place to start. And one thing, before I go any further, I have to say this is all free. So as you're thinking about it, I don't want to bury the lead here. This is a free program thanks to all of our sponsors and our government support. It's very highly practical and outcome driven. So please look at it through that lens as we go through the details. Next slide, please. So I'll get into Wrap, the program streams and all of the details in a moment. Really, I want to start with our DNA, Digital Needs Assessment. Typically, when you apply for any program, a government program or a private program, you have to enter your information. Here's how much my company brings in revenue. Here's where we're located. Here's what we do. We think that our program intake tool, the DNA, is something that's much, much more useful than a typical application. It can provide some very, very interesting insights. It assesses companies on their digital maturity and digital preparedness across a number of metrics. And we've partnered with KPMG and Forrester to get some proprietary data sets. So as you do the DNA, you're getting back insights, you're benchmarked, against your competitors, against like companies in your sector, in your region. So it's very benchmarked and very, very practical, I think, for your business. And this gap analysis is an important first step in understanding what needs you need to fill. If you leave this presentation with absolutely anything, it should be that the DNA is a great and free tool. It can help you assess those digital gaps, and the data set is really, really good. It's about 40 questions, but they're very, very carefully crafted to get at some underlying capabilities of your business structure. We've had about almost 700 companies complete it now. And one interesting insight before we move on that I wanted to touch on, only 4% of the companies, of the 700 companies in Ontario that have completed this, rate as digitally mature in their sectors. And 76% of the SMEs that have done it are under the benchmark ratings for their sector. So pretty eye-opening. I think it lines up with a lot of those macro stats, but really knowing where to dedicate your resources is a really great first step in terms of our programming, but just generally for your business operations. Next slide, please. Just a little snapshot about what you get when you do the DNA. We look at it across 8 major capabilities to try and assess all aspects of the digital business model. Very, very comprehensive, better than most of the tools that are out there. We're not leading you into a consulting site. Really, it's to help us understand what your business needs are so we can flow you into the correct program stream. And really, you can't start that digital transformation journey if you don't know where to start and you don't know where those needs are. And again, I do have to note that this is free at wrap.bot.com. Next slide, please. So the Wrap ecosystem. So what happens next? You do the DNA, you get the results, it comes in a PDF form. You have a really good understanding now, okay, you're looking at it, here's where my gaps are. That's when you get referred to one of our delegate managers. So we have a team on standby as these DNAs get completed who will go through it with you, who will help you understand what the results are. But they will also place you into a program stream to help you address those gaps based on the results, based on your company size, based on your sector. I should note that this is really about hands-on programming and providing access to resources, and we try and keep it as absolutely practical as possible. Who benefits most from doing something like this? This is really for all sizes, all sectors. The way that we've set it up flows you through the program in a way that really addresses the needs of your company. And our delegate managers will engage in conversation to help you understand exactly what those next steps are. So whether you're a company that's just starting out or a company that's already kind of started down the digital transformation journey, there are different resources that are here to help that I'll get into in a minute. If you look at kind of the companies that have completed it so far, we have a lot of professional services organizations like Trevor's, but we do a lot of work with consumer goods, with advanced manufacturing. We even have some tech companies that are coming in and trying to understand how they can further themselves along that digital transformation continuum. So I do want to stress that no matter where you are on your growth journey, there is a resource here for you. So next slide, please. So once a company completes their DNA, they're then eligible for the program. And I'll just spend a quick moment on this slide. We got 3 different program streams: digital certificates, our digital blueprint program, and our digital sales activation. And I'll get into some of the details. Again, just emphasizing, this isn't about just setting up your website. There are a lot of different ways that we go with this. Next slide, please. So a little bit, I'll pause here on the digital blueprint program. This is our most immersive program stream. It's about a 6-week program where you do half-day sessions on each of the program pillars mentioned here. And you can see the little logos with our program partners. So we have KPMG come in and do a half-day on digital modernization. We work with Soft Choice on tech infrastructure, CIBC on the financing, Microsoft with sales and marketing, and BLG with the legal aspects. Again, these are free resources from very senior resources from great organizations, and their track records in helping SMEs do this is obviously very, very extensive. Half day on each of them, moderated by David Reimer, who has 30 plus years of experience in digital transformation. I don't even know what digital transformation looked like 30 years ago. Computers, I guess, were just coming out, probably a very different kind of scene there. I'm imagining MS-DOS and old 80s movies. But ultimately, the product that you will leave this program with is a digital transformation blueprint. And we work with you, our team works with you throughout the program to complete this blueprint. And it is really an implementation guide for your digital transformation. So as you leave the program, you'll have this guide ready to go to help walk you through what those next steps are. And it's something that we vetted as we built out this program. And one thing that I wanted to highlight here, those program partners, they're not coming in and sales pitching you with these half-day sessions. It's very much about free mentorship. And that mentorship is really worth its weight in gold. So following those half-day sessions, there are mentorship sessions that we set up. And again, it's sessions to get free access, to ask questions that are pertinent to your business and to get answers on them. Next slide, please. So a little bit about what we've run so far. We've done 4 cohorts of the program, and we will continue to run the program monthly. So if you're interested, do that DNA. There's lots of room for intake. We've run 71 companies through it, and we'll be continuing to go at this pace. Next slide, please. Of course, we have to talk a little bit about our satisfaction ratings. Obviously looks very boastful for us to come in and say we've got 100% across the board. So we threw in a 91% there. But I think what we've been hearing from our client companies that have been through the program is that they found it very practical, very, very useful, and have at least given them some good insights into what those next steps could be in an implementable plan. Next slide, please. And just a couple testimonials about it. I think our moderator's been very well reviewed in terms of keeping things practical, and Trevor and Melanie can speak to this one a little bit later. I don't want to spend too much time on this slide, but of course, guys, we've got to pump our tires a little bit about this program. We think it's a great resource. Next slide, please. So the digital certificate program is our second program stream. So when I look at the blueprint program here, I think companies need to have a base level of liquidity to kind of get into that. We look for companies typically in the 500K or $1 million top line revenue area, because it does require a certain level of complexity. When we talk about digital certificates, this is really on a very specific topic, and these are half-day sessions. So when we look at, for example, the digital blueprint program, it's a 6-week-long program. It requires quite a bit of commitment, but of course, you get back that commitment in terms of what you're going to be getting out of the program. Digital certificate program is for companies that are maybe a little more advanced in some areas and less advanced in others. And it is really, our delegate managers tell us, company X needs to really work on cybersecurity. We'll flow you into that cybersecurity half-day session. Again, very, very practical, completely free, and very outcome oriented. And we keep these sessions as dynamic as possible to make sure that you have access to as many resources as possible throughout. Next slide, please. Again, I won't spend much time here, but we've had 214 companies through it, and 7 of them have been completed. We will be continuing to run these every 2 weeks for the foreseeable future. Next slide, please. A little bit, so on my screen, the font on this is a little bit too small, so I can't read it. Just a little sense of what the topics have been so far. Some of our more popular ones have been points of tech interaction in your business and on the back end, cybersecurity 101, CRM 101. How do I train my staff on CRM? What does that even look like? What techs do I need to install to really get that going? Some of the ones we have coming up, we're going to be doing some more on cybersecurity, digital marketing. What digital marketing strategy can I implement right away? What are some easy tools I can use to kind of get started on the digital marketing side? And we're also going to be doing e-commerce and digital payment systems. So again, those ones are a little more front end, but again, things like cybersecurity, things like inclusive design, back end issues that companies really need support with, we're here to help you with. Next slide, please. Wanted to touch on digital sales activation. This is something that we've just launched. We just completed our first digital trade mission to Latin America just this week or last week. None of us are going to be jumping on a plane to go do in-person trade missions anytime soon. So obviously this world has changed quite a bit. And really this is to connect you to market opportunities that exist elsewhere. We're using our World Trade Center Toronto networks to make sure that you're getting kind of B2B and B2C opportunities that can help you grow your business. There's a really strong education component on the front end. So again, bringing in partners that are not there to pitch you, they're there to give you some really practical advice on how you can do business in that market. And then our team takes that away and sets up those B2B opportunities. So it's a tight program, it's very curated. And again, it's free as an applicant to the program. Next slide, please. So, like I said, we've just launched this. We took 15 companies to Latin America virtually, but we have a very full agenda set up for January through March. So just a sense of what this is. We'll make this deck available so you can all see what that schedule looks like. But if you're interested, please reach out and we'd be happy to get you involved in it. Again, lots of e-commerce opportunities here, lots of opportunities in the smart city space, lots of opportunities in the construction, infrastructure, wastewater space as well. And again, we use our networks to make sure that that's curated and really outcome driven for you. So make sure you're coming out of there with some great connections. Next slide, please. Our Wrap webcast series, we run these every 2 weeks as well. They are completely free. And again, very practical. We want to make sure that you're getting the most that you can out of them. And again, on very specific topics. Next slide, please. So far, we've had 16 webcasts, 50 speakers, 3,600 participants. And again, wrap.bot.com will always have the latest information on what those webcasts look like. And if you're unsure about the program after this, I'd highly recommend that you take a look at some of our webcasts to get a bit of a sneak peek as to what that content looks like. Next slide, please. And again, just a little bit on what the topics are, but we'll make sure that this gets circulated afterwards. We're partnering with Cisco in our next one at the beginning of January to talk about getting ahead of the digital curve. Next slide, please. Again, wrap.bot.com for all of your needs. Wanted to thank our sponsors for the program, but also our Chamber of Commerce partners have been fantastic to help us set this up. So we're super happy to have them partnered with us on this info session. So as Lee had mentioned, we have Melanie Frazier here with us, and we got Trevor Stewart. We'd like to move into the next portion of our program. So thank you to everyone for bearing with me through that presentation, but hopefully it gives you a good understanding of the ins and outs of the program and what the different options are that are available to you. So I just wanted to introduce our speakers quickly here. Melanie Frazier is the Executive Director of the Halton Hills Chamber of Commerce, which represents over 500 businesses and thousands of employees. She has a background in corporate sales and leadership, and her career has expanded over several industries. She's passionate about the chamber role and is the voice of business in Halton Hills. So welcome, Melanie.
Thanks, Michael. Every time I hear about the Wrap program, I think any company that's not taking part in it is crazy. This is, and the fact that it's free, I know you said that a few times, but I really try to drive that home to my member businesses too. If someone came to you with all of this packaged up and said, we can help you re-energize your business, get ready for what's next, and evolve your business to the next level, I think most people knowing what the steps are now would be really happy to take advantage of it. And it's so multi-layered, it's really set for all kinds of companies and different industries with different needs. And that's what I love about the program. I just think that every company, even just taking the DNA, is going to identify things that they maybe need to work on and will benefit from it. So thank you for offering this to us and to all of your sponsors. It's just great.
Awesome. Thanks, Melanie. And thanks for being an advocate for the program. Also joining us is Trevor Stewart, president at Stokely Stewart Consultants. Trevor is a lifelong student in the art of recruiting. He joined the recruitment profession immediately upon graduation from university and has never looked back. He began his specialist career at Stokely Stewart in 2002 after 5 successful years with large international generalist staffing agencies where he held a number of senior positions. In 2007, Trevor's love for both the industry in general and the organization in particular gave him cause to purchase the company. As president, Trevor manages the organization while still personally maintaining his specialist logistics recruitment desk. And a large part of Trevor's success stems from the dedicated effort that he has exerted to become a specialist in the art of recruiting for logistics professionals. So thanks for joining us today, Stuart. Or Trevor.
My pleasure, Michael. No, absolutely. And love your trade, by the way. Love your trade.
Thank you. Thank you. It wasn't the prettiest on the lot, but she found a home.
Any festive addition is a valued addition. Speaking of value, I'm super happy to be able to speak to everyone today regarding my experience with the Wrap program. I was on the Digital Transformation Blueprint program, which probably means I needed more work, which is probably quite accurate. And it was truly transformational. And like I said, I'm super happy to be here and to share my experiences. So I'm an open book. Ask away.
Fantastic. We got a couple questions for you, and we'll open it up to Q&A in just a second. But perhaps Melanie can start here. And you touched on this already, Melanie, in your previous comments. But how do you see something like Wrap program or like the Wrap program helping companies in the Halton Peel region specifically, based on what you've seen in the companies that you're working with?
So yeah, thanks for that question, Michael. I think that what it really strikes me is the mentorship of the program and the actual step-by-step identifying for companies where they need to get better, I guess, in order to accomplish their own goals. So the Wrap program isn't telling companies what their goals should be, rather it's benchmarking for them, you know, where their competitors are. And let's face it, we're all in competition. There's only so many clients out there, there's only so many dollars. And I know most people go into business because they have a drive to succeed, but they don't traditionally have that access to mentorship without paying for it. So I think that, you know, with the wide range of businesses we have in Halton Peel, I know on this call we have, you know, some big businesses, we have some smaller ones as well. But if they're looking to not even transform their business, but just to get better in one area, you know, the 3 different streams that you have, I think are really impactful for, and Trevor can speak to this, to what your individual business needs in the moment. And because it's only 4 to 6 weeks, which really, think about it, isn't a lot, I think it's a valuable time away from your business to make your business better.
Thank you. And wanted to touch on, and I touched on in my presentation briefly, is 4 to 6 weeks, you know, 2 half days per week. You know, I think a lot of people see that and they say, okay, well, I'm running a business. I am a very, very busy person. I don't have time for this. But, you know, for a couple half days here and there, I think it's really important for people to find that time to actually step back and say, we need to assess the way that we're doing things. We don't need to change the business model. We just need to see if we can find some efficiencies here. Trevor, maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about your company.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Stokely Stewart Consultants. We are an executive search firm, recruitment firm. We've been in business since 1977, which, you know, would make me 90. And speaking of technology, isn't this filter great? No, as mentioned, I started in 2002, loved the company and bought it in 2007. We've grown from 1 office and 7 consultants to 2 offices and 16 consultants. And we do work all throughout Canada and the US of A, across a variety of industries, not just logistics, although logistics is my passion.
Awesome. That's great. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about the value that you saw in participating in the Wrap program. And just for the audience, before you answer, you know, a lot of our applicants we are seeing in the professional services sector, a lot more than expected, truthfully. So, you know, that perspective is very, very interesting, I think, for our audience here.
You bet. First of all, I'd like to say how great it is to see so many smiling faces in the audience here today. Actually, no, I don't see anyone. But normally when speaking to a group, that's how I would start. And I just miss people so much that I had to say it. So it just makes me feel better. So what was the greatest value in us participating? I think this will resonate with most folks listening, but especially to the entrepreneurs in the audience. Those people who have transformed their passion into a business. Hi, my name is Trevor. I have a recruiting addiction. I love to recruit. I have a passion for recruiting, but I also own a recruiting company, a company that I need to manage, a business that I need to work on, a business that I need to make sure remains at the forefront of digital transformation. But I love to recruit. Who here is familiar with the on the business versus in the business dilemma? If so, put up your hand. So, again, I can't see you, but good for everyone who actually physically put up your hand because you miss people too. Okay, on the business is Trevor the manager. In the business is Trevor the recruiter. It's an age-old struggle of divvying up our most precious resource, which is time. And that struggle is real. So the biggest thing that the Wrap did for me was provide me with the impetus and the vehicle to win that struggle and to work on the business, specifically looking at what is probably the most important thing for us in terms of continuing to thrive for another 40 years. And that is digital transformation. I'll be quite honest, I would not have known where to start or even how to begin to tackle this issue. And more brutal honesty, I probably would have avoided dealing with it as a result. But thankfully, in swooped Wrap folks to save the day. They truly provided me with a sophisticated, strategic, professional methodology for analyzing our current state, identifying best practices, identifying opportunities, and planning for a brighter future. They literally took me by the hand, sometimes dragged me, but successfully along this journey, and I couldn't be more grateful. So that's the value. They got me through it.
Trevor, I'm blushing here. Thank you. That was a very enthusiastic a testimonial for the program, and we're thrilled to hear that you had that experience in it. It's been a quick build for us on the program side, but great to see that you saw so much value in that. And I think the dilemma that you're speaking to, I think, is one that will resonate with a lot of our audience here today as well.
Great.
So those were our first couple canned questions, but I'm going to open this up to an audience Q&A. Again, if you have any questions, keep them coming. We're here to answer. So Melanie, I want to start with you, and this is a little bit of a slightly different spin on your previous question. But Tracy asks, what areas would you say companies in the Halton Peel region specifically are struggling with? And how does Wrap help?
Thanks, Tracy. That's a great question. And, I could probably talk for an hour or more on what each, sector is struggling with, or each size company. I think what strikes me when I talk to businesses is that, and it's kind of what Trevor talked about, it's what's next. I don't think any of us anticipated still working from home 10 months later. And I think companies did a great job of quickly managing what they needed to do. They got their workforce set up. They tried to deal with, their clients and maintaining what they already had. But I think companies now are struggling with, how do I grow? How do I get new customers? How do I manage my workplace virtually? Because let's face it, we're going to be here in some form for a while. So how do I get better? How do I get bigger? How do I scale up when a lot of the things that we thought were only going to be with us for a couple of months actually have pointed to a need for our individual businesses to pivot? There's that word. We all hate it so much. But to, instead of just put a Band-Aid on the situation, to actually create a solution for a business need and to get better from it. So yeah, I think when I do talk to businesses, it's just about, I don't know what's next, and I don't know how to access those resources while, to Trevor's point, I'm still working in my business because, resources are the big issue right now, whether it be time or money. So I think Wrap kind of plugs all those holes for people because it shows them what is a gap, perhaps, and then gives them the tools to get better in those areas with access to some great talent that they wouldn't normally have. I kind of liken it to, when you go to a convention and there's 1,000 breakout sessions that you want to do because they're so amazing and you get mad that you can't do them all at the same time. Well, this way you don't have to pick, all of the great content is brought straight to you. You don't even have to leave your office, and you walk out with a great blueprint on how to run your business in the new reality.
Awesome. And Trevor, I guess just to build on that, does that, I guess, from both the challenge side and the solution side, does that resonate with your experience and what your business is seeing right now?
Oh, absolutely. This journey through the Wrap program has been great. The year has not necessarily been a fun journey. So, I was, how this all started, an email showed up in my inbox and it looked neat. It was one of 2 million emails, but I thought it was worthwhile to take a look at. I didn't act on it right away, but I didn't delete it, and it stuck in my head, in the back of my head, which was remarkable in and of itself, because given the COVID situation, there wasn't much room left in my head. COVID was a gut punch for us, as it was for many organizations. And at the time, my head was down. I was doing everything I could to fill some of the orders that clients may still have needed. When I came up for air, my head was spinning, but it really started to become clear that this COVID thing wasn't going away. And the new world was this new COVID world was a digital world. I'm thinking, digital world, digital transformation. There's an email in my inbox somewhere that deals with this. So I'm doing this. So I clicked it and I went through the process, and that DNA was awesome. So many insightful questions and then the results, it shone not only a light on where we were, but also where we could be. We scored well in some areas, not so good in others. Really, in recruiting, it's a human-to-human business. Success really comes down to forming a connection with people, building trust, being able to have an open and honest conversation, exploring someone's hopes and dreams and aspirations, and how a new career can bring about a brighter future for that person and their family. So that had always been our focus. And technology was secondary, not neglected, but secondary. So we've really had this a pivot. Oh my God, I used it. We pivoted. So now through the WRAP program, we are now looking at digital transformation as a brand enabler, as not necessarily separating us from the human, but bringing the human forward, giving us more time for the human interaction. And then, so I got the results. I was put into a very appropriate cohort for me, consisted of leaders from companies large and small, different disciplines. And it was really good because we got to learn not only from the experts, presenters, as you have talked about, but also from the fellow students during the breakout sessions. And that hasn't necessarily been mentioned yet, but I think it's important to note that the learning that came from that was really, really good. So, and we got down to not only where we had gaps, but again, yes, the obstacles that we hadn't necessarily thought of, but also the opportunities that we hadn't thought of. And personally, my last statement on the journey, but what I really enjoyed the most was when I would finish a session, I would run and talk to our team members. And the more I shared, the more they got excited and the more creative juices would flow. And I'll leave you with a quote from one of our teams. It says, "All the dinosaurs didn't die on the same day." Well, I don't intend to die on any day. And the WRAP program has armed us with the right plan to make sure that we continue to thrive, and that COVID isn't an extinction event for our business, but more so really and truly a renaissance. So thank you, WRAP program.
Trevor, I hope you don't mind. I will be stealing that saying in the future. I'll try and attribute it, but I will be stealing it.
And which one? The dinosaur one?
Yeah, the dinosaur one.
It's
I really
awesome.
like it. And that's one thing that we've actually been seeing, to your point on teams getting involved. We've been seeing senior teams bringing in their staff. We've been seeing multiple people logging in from different locations. Some businesses are actually doing, in different parts of the province are doing in-person work right now. They'll put it on in a boardroom and have half the team sitting there taking notes. And we encourage that. There's a great opportunity to get everyone involved. One day, you probably want your COO sitting there for the finance sections. You probably want your product team sitting there to make sure that the infrastructure sections match up with what their capabilities are. So we certainly encourage people bringing multiple teams to multiple sessions. And that actually leads into a question that we've received from Jason. How interactive and involved would you say that the half-day sessions were, Trevor? And were they presentations or was it more personalized?
Oh, they were great, like I said. So there was an opportunity to ask questions and engage one-on-one in the group with the presenters. And then there were the breakout sessions. And I love people. I love the breakout sessions. It really is easier to connect in a 3 or 4 person group. Zoom is awesome, but 40 or 50 people trying to talk at the same time doesn't work so well. So there was that. And I also want to bring it back to the one-on-one sessions. So that's the other thing too. So at the end of the session, you got to book at the end of the program, that 5 or 6 weeks, we finished everything, you got to book time with each of the experts. And there you really got to unpack your problems, and they would answer your specific questions. And also a shout out to our guiding light, David Reimer, wonderful facilitator, and he really kept us on track, provided some marvelous direction. And the one-on-one sessions with him were also extremely valuable and informative. So it was long-winded answer from a recruiter. It was very back and forth and interactive.
Awesome, thank you. Now, I know we are tight on time, folks. I wanted to ask Melanie one last question. There's one that came in that speaks perfectly to a conversation her and I were having before the webcast. John asked, how does the WRAP program work with companies that are struggling to keep up with increased demand? we are in a fortunate enough position that we have actually seen a bump in business over the past 6 months. Is the Wrap program intended for larger companies that don't necessarily need help staying afloat?
Oh, John, I'm so happy you asked that. So, because those are the questions I'm getting from my members. Who is this for? It's for everyone. A lot of people think they're not, that they're not hurting, and so they don't need the help. But that's exactly when you need the support. So rather than looking on it as deficiencies or even gaps, it's the support to get you to that next level, to be able to really scale up and make your processes even more efficient. And even for, I've got a lot of companies that have said, I don't think I'm big enough for this. You know, it's the World Trade Center, it's Toronto Board of Trade. And it's, you know, like you said, there's a ton of professional services that have been applying for this. I think that any company of any size is going to get so much value out of this. And everyone benefits. When all of our companies are operating at peak efficiency, everyone benefits. And like Trevor said, you can learn from each other within that kind of roundtable format. So I wish I could go to each of my member businesses and make them do the DNA, because I think that they would be stunned to see what kind of value they'd get from it.
Awesome, thanks. And again, you know, we're seeing companies of all shapes and sizes coming through and getting value out of this. And our job is to try and make sure that that content is tailored to your business needs. So with that, you know, I saw a couple questions that I can answer. I want to get to one very quickly. I know I'm being told to wrap it up. I'm sorry to all the viewers. Is chamber board membership required to access Wrap? Can it be adapted for nonprofit or charitable businesses? And that's from Catherine. And now this is an important one that I wanted to make sure I touched on while we had the group here. You do not need to be a member of any chamber or any board. Of course, we work with great partners and chambers across the province, but you do not need to be a member. And we've actually had a high number of nonprofits and charitable businesses. I think when we're talking about back-end transformation, you know, you still need to find efficiencies in your business operations. We're not here to change your business model. We're here to figure out how you can make it more efficient and bring in some techs to help you. Of course, you know, even nonprofits and charitable businesses have needs to bring on new revenue lines at times. So certainly we're here to help with that. And I wanted to get to that one because I'm sure there are a number of those types of businesses watching. But with that, I do have to move into some closing remarks. So thank you so much, Melanie. Thank you so much, Trevor, for being here today and offering some insight. I think it was incredibly, incredibly valuable for our audience.
Our pleasure.
My pleasure, yes.
So as we move into these closing remarks, I do want to remind you about that digital needs assessment. You've heard me talk about it. You've heard us all talk about it. The only thing now is to do it. So to take that digital needs assessment today, simply click on the graphic to the right of your screen in the info tab. And again, you know, 20 minutes, answer the questions, and it's even just that first step is very valuable. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. Before you sign off, I would like to tell everyone about our next webcast. On January 13th at 11 a.m., we will be holding a webcast in partnership with our great partners at Cisco. It's going to feature the Toronto Region Board of Trade's 2019 Young Professional of the Year, Assad Zaman, CEO of Sales Talent Agency, and Lissa Ricci, the VP of Small Business at Cisco Canada. We're going to be talking in some very specific and case study oriented terms about how SMBs can get ahead of the digital curve. So registration for this webcast should be open soon or now. So I'd ask you to go to supportbusiness.bot.com to check that out. And today's webcast has been made possible thanks to our event partners at the Mississauga, Oakville, Brampton, Burlington, Milton, and Halton Hills Chamber of Commerce. So sincere thank you to all the chambers of commerce in the Halton and Peel regions for helping make this happen today. And again, thanks to our guests, thanks to everyone for partnering, and have a great holidays to all the viewers.